Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to look at the subreddit r/entitledparents, where people tell us their stories of crazy mums and dads who think they're entitled just because they have kids. If you're new around here, please hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some Reddit stories. Entitled mother bullies her kid's way onto a field trip he has no business on. He acts like a maniac and is subsequently banned. Entitled mother cannot understand why he's being excluded. This happened a few summers ago when I was working as a staff member at a youth program. I no longer work there, and stuff like this is part of the reason why. Quick background note. Everyone was technically required to undergo a short orientation before they were allowed to start their kids in the program. But we were badly understaffed and it was hard to keep track. As a result, a lot of parents didn't complete it, either out of honest ignorance or just by lying because they couldn't be bothered and didn't think they should have to. The latter were usually the parents of the most out of control kids. One kid in particular was a chronic problem from his first day. I never saw him moving at less than a dead sprint. He'd arrive in the morning with a party bag sized of Takis and a 64-ounce cup of bright blue soda from 7-Eleven, and then leave a trail of red dust, crumbs, crushed chips, and sticky residue on every surface in the building. If another kid looked at him wrong or walked too close to him, he got physical without one instant's thought or hesitation. Imagine if you shaved the Tasmanian devil, pumped him full of sugar and junk food, and then set him loose. Just a 4-foot-tall blur of unbridled rage that eats and fights and spins in circles until it drops. For the purpose of this story, I'll call him Taz. Taz's mother, or the entitled mother, naturally did not complete the orientation, and also did not read any of the materials she was given with her application packet, including the parent handbook, which explained the rules, levels of consequence for unacceptable behaviors, etc. Within a month, Taz got himself banned from many of the activity rooms in the building, booted from the junior T-ball team, ousted from the social room during movie time, and eventually barred from all field trips. Entitled mother was constantly making a fuss at pickup time, demanding to know why her son was being sent home with 6 different write-ups and was being excluded from activities. But before he was unilaterally banned from getting on our bus and leaving the building, I had the bad fortune of taking Taz on a field trip because his entitled mother threw a fit. So that's the main story I'm telling here. 8:30 AM. I was loading the bus to take a small group of kids rock climbing. It's important to note that this field trip was restricted. Anyone who wanted to participate had been required to end a 1-hour safety briefing and instructional session to prove they could listen and be trusted not to damage our gear or hurt anyone. We had only distributed about 10 to 12 permission slips, and only to kids I had personally approved. Anyway, I got the kids into their seats and was putting the gear in through the rear door when a car rushed into the parking lot and stopped right next to the bus. Entitled mother hopped out, grabbed up Taz from the front passenger seat, where he was way too little to be riding, and marched him right up and tried to put him on the bus. Luckily, the folding doors were already closed, so she had to come around the back and talk to me first. It went something like this. "Y'all going on a field trip? Taz wants to go." I'm sorry, but Taz isn't approved to go on this trip. "Just put him on the bus and I'll sign the permission slip later." I am absolutely not allowed to do that for any field trip, but this one in particular had a requirement of, "Fine, I'll go inside and sign it now. Just put him on the bus." Again, I'm sorry, but he didn't complete the required training to come on this trip. The only kids on the bus are the ones who have demonstrated, "Are you saying my son's not good enough to come on this trip? I paid in advance for 3 field trips, and he has a right to get on this bus. Now, open the door before I go get Mr. Bossman." If you feel like you need to talk to Mr. Bossman about this, he's right inside. But I cannot put Taz on the bus, and we need to be going. Don't you move. You wait right there while I go talk to boss man about this. At this point, I have the bus fully loaded and the doors shut. I cannot leave the kids on the bus to go inside to deal with this. I don't want to get everybody off the bus so we can all go inside. I decide to wait a minute, on the off chance I'm called in to defend myself. I could see entitled mother through the front window, yelling and gesticulating at the front desk staffer and then at bossman. Finally, bossman walks out with Taz and entitled mother looking very smug. Huffle potato, I'm giving Taz permission to board the bus, okay? Mr. Bossman, Taz has not taken the training for rock climbing and he's a couple of years younger than the next youngest person who did complete the training. I just don't think this is the right field trip for him. Your objection is noted, but I'm approving it under my authority as director. If he doesn't follow the rules and listen to you, he won't be allowed to go again. Please find him a seat. Taz leaps up the stairs, flashes me a grin, and throws himself into a seat. Entitled mother gives me a grin to match, gets in her car, and takes off again. Literally the second we parked at our destination and I opened the bus doors, Taz flew out and took off. From the entire duration of the trip, he broke every single rule. He ran far ahead of the group and ignored me when I called him back. He took off his shirt and jumped into a pond. He wouldn't wait while I tried to give him some basic instructions and started slinging around a rope with a carabiner on one end and nailed another kid in the face. Then laughed as they cried. He started wrestling with another kid in full kit and got all of their gear and ropes tangled together. As I was trying to untangle the mess, he lost patience and pulled so hard that he broke a plastic fastener and rendered his gear unusable. Then he cried and sulked because he no longer had gear to use, and demanded that we end the trip and go back to the program center because he was bored and it wasn't fair to him to have to sit and watch everybody else have fun. I parked him at a picnic table and told him to sit there and not get up again until it was time to leave. Of course, the second I turned my back, he was running around and harassing other people, trying to take their gear. We eventually did cut the trip short and leave early just because I couldn't keep him in check and it wasn't fair to the other kids that I didn't have attention to spare with helping them. I explained all of this to Bossman back at the center and he assured me that I would not have to take Taz anywhere again. Literally, as we were having this discussion, I had to pause to get between Taz and a kid he was trying to goad into fighting him. When entitled mother came back to pick him up and was informed of his behaviour and told that he wouldn't be allowed on any more field trips due to his lack of self-control, she threw a fit and said, "We were unprofessional and should be better equipped to handle kids, acting like kids." He was always just getting in trouble at our facility and never had anything positive to say about his experiences there at the end of the day. And we never had anything good to say about him and clearly just didn't like him. And consequently, she would not be bringing him to our program anymore. We all breathed a sigh of relief. Guess who pulled back up at 8 AM the next day, let him out of the car, and took off without even coming inside. I guarantee that's all the mother's doing, like her bringing him up and everything, that's all the mother's fault. He's probably just grown up in an environment where she thinks everything like that is okay, and yeah, there needs to be something done about that. Entitled mother tries to make me and my grandmother with mobility problems move from our own seats in the movie theatre. This happened a few weeks ago on one of my weekly visits to the cinema with my grandmother. For context, she is 84 and she has mobility problems. Nothing too dramatic, but she can't stand for too long. If left alone, she would sit on her terrace looking at the cars pass all day long because she likes that. So all the family plan activities with her so she moves a bit and goes out. What I do with her is go to the cinema. So that day we got there, found our theatre and sat down in our seats before the lights turned off. All perfect because she gets tired with just the walk from the car and gets very nervous in the dark because she can't see the steps. Fast forward a few minutes and a family of 3 comes in and stares at us. We have those seats. Sorry, but these are our seats. I checked my tickets just in case. No, you are wrong. We have those. A kid holding their tickets. Mum, I can see it here. Those are on our seats. You heard her. My grandmother is visibly nervous and attempting to get up. Grandma, stay put. I turn to the family. Look, I don't know if there is any error on the assignment of seats, but we have these seats, so we will not change. You have our seats, and we have asked for those in particular, so you have to change. Listen, I have also asked for these seats, so there must be an error. The lights go off. It is now the usher finally notices us and comes to check what the problem is. Can I help you? The mother proceeds to tell him that we are on their seats. The usher asks for our tickets, and while I am giving them to him, my grandmother is asking me if we have to leave and attempting to get up again. She is clearly distressed. She can't hear the conversation anymore since the commercials have started and the theatre is dark. The usher gives back the tickets to the family and says something I can't quite hear. I see the kid looking distressed and hiding behind her father. They look at each other, grab the kid by the hand, and run out of the theatre. Not even a glance at us. Of course, no explanation or apology. The usher then told us that they were in the wrong theatre all along, gave back our tickets, apologised on behalf of the cinema, and asked us if we were okay. I said yes, although my grandma was still a bit agitated and kept asking if we still had to move. How can you walk into the wrong cinema and then demand like someone else is sat in your seat? And usually when I walk into a cinema, unless it's like a premiere, like the first seating, then there's normally hundreds of empty seats, so I don't know why you couldn't just go to a nearby one. Entitled mother thinks I should do her dishes when I don't even live there. So, recently, I moved out of my mum's place and went to go live with my grandmother. Nothing bad happened, I just got a job closer to where she lived and she offered me a place to live, which I accepted. Now, before my move, when I lived with my mum, I would do almost everything for her. And I thought all of it was in reason because she did provide for the household. I would do chores, watch the kids, cook dinner, and do everyone's laundry. I did it all because she was busy with work, and when she'd come home, she'd be too tired to actually do anything. It wasn't until I realised that I was 19, without a job or a license, my mum wouldn't allow me to get one, so I just moved. I have two other siblings that I care for, the oldest being 15, important later. I had moved in with my nana, my grandma, and settled down for about a month. My mum had no hard feelings because I wasn't too far and I wasn't living with a stranger. And after I moved, she couldn't really say anything about me getting a job. I finally had a load off as I didn't have to do so many chores with only 2 people in the house. So, all was well. Until my mum was hosting a family Sunday dinner, a tradition that we honour a few times a month. Me and my nana of course plan to go because food. We arrive and the house is in a disarray. Toys are everywhere, the laundry room a mess, and worst of all, the dishes. All of the dishes have been used. They were overflowed in the sink, all over the counters, some left on the floor, and some between couch cushions. It was absolutely ridiculous. We ate dinner in a separate, more clean room. When we finish, we all start watching movies together. As the movie reaches its end, my mum asks whose turn it is to do the kitchen. I think nothing of it because she couldn't have been talking to me. I thought maybe her and my younger brother, 15, were taking it in turn, splitting turns between each other for chores. I mean, it wasn't unusual considering I've been doing the dishes ever since I was old enough to reach the counters. Then, my brother speaks up. I did it on so-and-so day. And when did OP do it? My brother tells her before I left, which was weeks ago. I started questioning in my head why I'm suddenly a part of this conversation. Then, my mum looks back at the TV and starts to pick something out for herself, and when she starts to play some TV shows, she tells me that I need to do the dishes because it's your night. I look at her confused. She can't be serious. She expects me to do a month worth of dishes. She expected me to clean dishes I haven't even used. I straight up told her that there was no way I would be doing any of her dishes. She tried to pull the whole "I'm the parent and you're the child" BS. I had to remind her that I wasn't a child and I don't even live with her. She ended up getting upset and just started to yell at me how I couldn't do anything and how it was my own fault for not doing the dishes and that's why there was so much. After a while, I just left and waited until my nana was done. It's been about a week and I haven't heard anything from my mum. Edit. So some of you have asked if I have gotten my license now that I don't live with her. And to answer that, no, I do not. Unfortunately, she is paying for my college and she very much enjoys using that as leverage against me. She has threatened in the past to stop paying if I tried to get a license, which I didn't think was that big of a deal since she phrased it as my house, my rule kind of a thing. A similar issue has come up in the past where I wanted a license back in high school but she refused to let me have one, blaming it on my bad grades. I honestly wish no ill will upon my mum. In some ways, I can see where she is coming from, at least I think so. I am her firstborn child, so when I did become a certain age, when I started making my own decisions, she must have taken that pretty hard. But I do know that after a few other situations that happened in the past, it was just time for me to figure out how to be an independent person. Edit 2. Haha, so many people have asked how my mum would know that I have a license, and I'm almost 99.9% sure my nana would spill the beans. She was actually the one that wanted me to get a license and put that idea in my head. So I'm pretty sure my nana would go tell my mum the good news, if I ever did get one. Plus, she's not good at keeping secrets. I'm really confused as to why her mum doesn't want her to get a license. Is that such a bad thing in America, or? I don't understand. Surely it's just an extra thing to have. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon.